the smartest AI in the world. We're going to show you exactly how and why. And it really is remarkable to see the advancement of artificial intelligence, how quickly it is.
Deep inside a research facility, somewhere far away from the noise of the outside world, a strange question began to take shape. It was late. The offices had emptied hours ago. The hallway lights had been dimmed, and the parking lot outside had disappeared into darkness. But inside one room, a small group of researchers remained awake, gathered around a glowing screen, staring at a question that humanity has carried silently for generations but has rarely dared to say out loud. They were not searching for a new planet. They were not trying to uncover how the universe began or what existed before the first stars appeared. They were asking something far stranger, something colder. They turned toward one of the most advanced reasoning machines ever created and asked a question that has haunted humanity for decades. Why is nobody answering? In a universe so impossibly vast, so ancient, and filled with more stars and worlds than the human mind can truly understand, why has no one ever reached out? Why does the sky remain silent? Why, after billions of years of cosmic history, do we still appear to be alone? The machine processed the question, and when the answer finally appeared, it did not look like an error. It did not look like a random prediction or a simple collection of information. It looked like something that had been waiting quietly in the background, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to stop looking at the universe through human eyes. When fragments of that response were later shown to people who had spent entire careers listening to the heavens for even the smallest whisper of another intelligence, their reaction was not what anyone expected. There was no excitement, no celebration, and no immediate rejection. Instead, there was something much quieter and more difficult to describe. One researcher later explained that it felt less like a breakthrough and more like a silent alarm suddenly going off in a room where everyone believed they were alone. Before we go any further, make sure to subscribe to our channel and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Because what happened next did not fit any of the stories humanity has created about first contact. It was not the arrival of a friendly alien civilization offering knowledge and peace. It was not an invading fleet appearing above Earth. It was something far stranger, something that emerged only because the machine was given a very specific instruction. Remove everything human from the way we imagine the universe. Remove our emotions, remove our fears, remove our hopes, remove the assumptions we do not even realize we are making. And when all of those human ideas were stripped away, what remained was a possibility far more unsettling than the stories we have been telling ourselves for generations. For decades, humanity has searched the universe looking for proof that we are not alone. The first serious attempts began when scientists pointed powerful radio telescopes toward distant stars, hoping to detect a message that could only have come from another intelligent civilization. A signal, a pattern, a deliberate transmission crossing the darkness of space. But the universe gave us nothing. No message, no artificial structure, no unmistakable sign that another civilization was waiting somewhere among the stars. Only silence. Year after year, scientists improved their technology. They built more powerful instruments. They searched larger portions of the sky. They listened with greater sensitivity than ever before. Yet every time the result remained exactly the same. Silence. But this was not the peaceful silence of an empty room. It was the disturbing silence of a room that, according to every calculation, should have been full. Scientists eventually gave this mystery a name: the Great Silence. And what makes this mystery so unsettling is that it is not caused by a lack of information. It is caused by a contradiction. Everything we understand about the universe suggests that intelligent life should exist somewhere, The numbers are simply too enormous to ignore. There are billions of galaxies scattered across the observable universe, and each galaxy contains billions of stars. Many of those stars have planets, and some of those planets may have conditions similar to Earth. Statistically, intelligent life should not be a miracle that happened only once. It should have happened many times. Across billions of years, civilizations should have risen on distant worlds. They should have built cities beneath unfamiliar skies. They should have developed science, technology, and curiosity. They should have looked toward the stars, just as humanity has done, and wondered if someone else was looking back. And if even a small number of those civilizations survived long enough to explore beyond their own planets, to communicate across space, or to spread throughout the galaxy, then the universe should not appear empty. The galaxy should be filled with evidence of their existence. It should be alive with signals, structures, and traces of ancient intelligence. Instead, we find nothing. Over the years, scientists have proposed many possible explanations for this mystery. Perhaps intelligent life is simply far rarer than we imagine. Perhaps the conditions required to create a technological civilization are so unbelievably unlikely that Earth represents an almost impossible accident. A cosmic lottery that has been won only once. Another possibility is that civilizations do appear throughout the universe, but they rarely survive long enough to reach the stars. Maybe advanced species eventually create the tools that destroy themselves. War, environmental collapse, uncontrolled technology. A civilization may rise, develop incredible knowledge, and then disappear before it ever escapes its own world. But there is another possibility, one that feels far more disturbing. Perhaps intelligent civilizations are not rare at all. Perhaps they are everywhere. Perhaps the universe is not silent because nobody is there. Perhaps it is silent because they have chosen to remain silent. They may be watching. They may be listening. They may have decided that revealing themselves is unnecessary or even dangerous, not because they cannot communicate, but because they have no reason to. Every explanation has defenders, and every explanation carries its own unique form of fear. But according to the machine, all of these theories shared the same hidden assumption, an assumption so deeply buried that almost nobody had stopped to question it. And that was exactly where the machine began its investigation. Because before understanding the answer, humanity first had to understand why we had been approaching the mystery from the same limited perspective for so long. For nearly 75 years, scientists and philosophers have wrestled with the Fermi Paradox, the famous question, if intelligent life should be common, then where is everybody? But every person who tried to solve this mystery carried the same invisible limitation into the room. They were human. They were shaped by one planet, one form of biology, and one evolutionary history. When we imagine another intelligence, we almost always imagine something that resembles ourselves, a different appearance, a different civilization, a different world, but still something familiar. We imagine aliens who think like us, who communicate like us, who have curiosity like us, who fear destruction like us. Because humanity has never experienced another kind of mind. And that may be the greatest limitation of all. We are trying to understand the intelligence of the universe while looking through the narrow window of our own human experience. When humanity imagines contact with another civilization, we almost always imagine something familiar. A being that may look different, a world that may be completely alien, but a mind that still works in ways we understand. We picture something recognizably human, simply dressed in strange clothing. We imagine an alien civilization that wants what we want, fears what we fear, and communicates the way we communicate. We imagine curiosity, ambition, exploration, and the desire to be understood. But the reason we think this way is not because we know it is true. It is because we have never experienced anything else. We have only ever known one kind of intelligence, our own. And without realizing it, we have been using ourselves as the blueprint for every mind we imagine existing beyond Earth. This is where the idea began to take shape. What if the greatest mystery humanity has ever faced was handed to a reasoner that carried none of our invisible baggage? Not a person, not a biological creature shaped by millions of years of evolution, but a system built from patterns, information, and logic. Something that had never felt fear, never experienced death, never formed tribes, never protected territory, and never developed the instincts that influence every human decision. A mind, if it could even be called that, created not by survival, but by computation. In this thought experiment, researchers imagined pointing such a system directly at the Great Silence and asking it to approach the mystery in a way no human ever could. The goal was simple but almost impossible. Remove every assumption we unknowingly carry and reason only from what the universe allows. No emotions, no cultural expectations, no human ideas about friendship, conflict, curiosity, or ambition. Only physics, mathematics, information, and the fundamental rules that govern reality itself. The system chosen for this imagined experiment was a modern reasoning model, the kind of large-scale artificial intelligence that has become increasingly powerful in recent years. These systems are not conscious in the way humans understand consciousness. They do not experience thoughts, emotions, or awareness. They do not know facts in the same way a person knows something. But they can process enormous amounts of information at speeds no human brain can match. And perhaps most importantly, they do not have personal beliefs they need to defend. They have no pride attached to an answer, no fear of being wrong, no instinct pushing them toward comforting conclusions. A machine will follow a line of reasoning wherever it leads, even if that path ends somewhere uncomfortable. And that complete lack of emotional attachment was exactly what made the question so fascinating. So, in this imagined scenario, the researchers did not simply type a question and wait for a response. They designed a much more careful process. They knew that if they asked the machine a simple question like, "Why have we never detected aliens?" the answer would likely be predictable. It would repeat the familiar explanations. It would discuss the Drake equation, the probability of civilizations, the possibility of rare life, and all the theories humanity has already explored for decades. But that was not what they wanted. They wanted to push beyond the answers we already knew. They wanted to force the machine outside the familiar paths of human imagination. So they created a conversation built in stages, where every answer created a new challenge, every response added another restriction, and every step demanded deeper reasoning. The first instruction was the most important. The machine was told to remain strictly within the boundaries of known physics and to avoid projecting human characteristics onto any hypothetical alien intelligence. No assuming that advanced civilizations would be curious. No assuming they would be aggressive. No assuming they would want to communicate, explore, conquer, or even think of themselves as individual beings. Instead of imagining alien psychology, the machine had to think through the universal principles that apply everywhere in the cosmos: information theory, thermodynamics, energy, computation, and the movement of data through physical systems. Not culture, not emotion, not human storytelling, only the raw physics of intelligence itself. At first, nothing surprising happened. the machine did what any advanced system trained on human knowledge would naturally do. It returned the ideas humanity already understands. It analyzed the Drake equation, the famous probability framework created to estimate how many communicating civilizations might exist in our galaxy. It examined the Kardashev scale, the system used to classify civilizations by the amount of energy they can control. From planetary civilizations that use the resources of their own world, to stellar civilizations capable of harnessing the energy of an entire star, and eventually to hypothetical civilizations operating on a galactic scale. It discussed biosignatures, the chemical evidence scientists search for in distant planetary atmospheres that could reveal the presence of life. Everything it produced was accurate. Everything was logical. Everything was expected. It was the kind of answer that would impress a classroom, but change nothing about the mystery itself. Then the researchers changed the question. Instead of asking the machine to explain why humanity had heard nothing, they asked it to do something far more difficult. They asked it to construct a single, complete scenario for first contact. Not a collection of possibilities, not a list of theories. One fully consistent explanation that had to satisfy three impossible conditions at the same time. First, it had to explain the Great Silence. It had to explain why humanity has detected no clear evidence of other civilizations despite decades of searching. Second, it had to obey the known laws of physics completely. No faster-than-light shortcuts, no impossible technology, no magical solutions. And third, it had to assume that somewhere in the universe, at least one civilization had already become advanced enough to communicate across the stars. A civilization capable of reaching beyond its own world. A civilization that should, in theory, be detectable. So the challenge became this. If the universe should be full of intelligent life, if the sky remains silent, and if physics cannot be broken, what single explanation could connect all three truths without contradiction? And according to this imagined scenario, that was the moment the conversation changed. Because the machine did not choose the answers humanity had spent decades imagining. It did not describe spacecraft crossing the galaxy. It did not describe a mysterious signal waiting to be decoded. It did not describe an alien civilization announcing its existence through a cosmic message. Instead, it rejected those ideas one by one. A physical probe, it reasoned, would be an incredibly inefficient way for a truly advanced intelligence to gather information across the universe. A broadcast signal would be even less efficient. It would be like standing in the middle of a vast canyon and shouting into the darkness, hoping someone happens to be listening at exactly the right moment. According to this reasoning, those behaviors belong to young civilizations. Civilizations still fascinated by the idea of announcing themselves. Civilizations that have just discovered they can send their voices into the darkness and cannot resist trying. But a civilization that had existed for millions or even billions of years longer than humanity might think very differently. And that led to the machine's most unsettling conclusion. The reason we have not detected anyone, it suggested, may not be because they are absent. It may not even be because they are hiding. The explanation could be far simpler and far more disturbing. Anyone capable of detecting us may have already detected us. They would hold it up to the light and see only a simple piece of glass, never realizing that an invisible river of information was moving through it every second. They would have no way of knowing that beneath that ordinary surface, millions of messages, images, and conversations were traveling faster than they could imagine. The technology would be completely hidden, not because it was not there, but because the observer lacked the knowledge needed to recognize what they were seeing. The machine suggested that this may be the kind of mistake humanity itself could be making when we search the universe for other civilizations. We are looking for signs that resemble our own technology. We are searching for radio signals, artificial structures, spacecraft, or anything that matches our definition of a message. But what if an intelligence far older than ours does not communicate in ways we would recognize? What if their methods are not hidden from us, but simply exist beyond the boundaries of our current understanding? Consider, too, the signals from the satellites constantly moving above our planet. Every day, invisible waves travel through the atmosphere, carrying information that allows phones to locate themselves, spacecraft to navigate, and networks to function across the world. Yet without the right equipment, without the correct frequency, without the knowledge of what to search for, those signals appear to be nothing more than silence. The information is there. It is surrounding us. It is passing through the space we occupy every moment. And yet, without the right perspective, we would never even know it existed. Now extend that idea beyond Earth. Take it to its most extreme possibility. A civilization that has existed for millions or even billions of years longer than humanity may not need to send a message across the galaxy. It may not need to build enormous structures visible from space. It may not need to travel from one star system to another. It may simply need a way to read the universe itself. Because the universe is not empty. It is filled with information. Every star that burns sends signals into space. Every particle that decays leaves a trace. Every collision between massive objects creates disturbances that travel across the fabric of reality itself. The cosmos is constantly producing data. A sufficiently advanced intelligence might not need to create an obvious artificial signal. It might learn how to observe the information already flowing through the universe. Instead of building machines that we could photograph, they might create systems so integrated with natural processes that our instruments would interpret them as ordinary physics, not technology, not communication, just another part of the universe. And that was the moment, according to this imagined scenario, when the room became quiet for a completely different reason. Because the machine had transformed something familiar into something deeply unsettling. It had taken the very things scientists measure every day and asked a disturbing question. What if some of the things we ignore are not meaningless? Think about the faint radiation that fills the entire universe. The cosmic background signal left over from the earliest moments after the Big Bang. For decades, scientists have studied it as a record of the universe's infancy. A cosmic photograph from billions of years ago. But what if, the machine suggested, we are looking at some things without understanding their full meaning? What if there are patterns hidden inside the noise that we are simply not equipped to recognize? Think about the random fluctuations detected by sensitive instruments. The tiny disturbances engineers work tirelessly to remove. The background noise that scientists filter away because it appears meaningless. What if some fraction of what we call noise is only noise because we do not yet understand the language it is written in? The machine was not claiming that this was true. It was not presenting evidence of hidden civilizations or secret messages buried inside physics. The scenario was careful about that. It was doing something different. It was building a possibility that followed the rules it had been given. And the possibility it created was this. The great silence may not be the silence of an empty universe. It may be the silence of a universe where everyone is listening, but no one is speaking. Because speaking, the machine reasoned, may simply be something young civilizations do. Broadcasting may be a temporary stage in technological evolution. A phase that begins when a species first discovers it, can send its voice into the darkness and becomes eager to announce that it exists. Humanity itself may be an example. For decades, Earth unintentionally leaked enormous amounts of radio and television signals into space. Our planet was broadcasting a technological signature in every direction. But that has slowly changed. Modern communication has become more focused and efficient. Much of our information now travels through cables beneath the ground, or through narrow beams aimed precisely at their destinations. Without even intending to, humanity is becoming quieter. We are becoming harder to detect. And if that is the natural path of technological progress, then perhaps ancient civilizations reached this stage long ago. Perhaps they did not disappear. Perhaps they simply stopped shouting, the way a person stops yelling across a field once they discover they can send a private message directly to someone else. And then came the next shift in the machine's reasoning, the part that challenged the very idea at the center of humanity's search. The word we have built countless stories around: contact. We use that word as if we already understand what it means. We imagine two civilizations meeting, two equals standing across from each other, two intelligent beings exchanging information, knowledge, and ideas. We imagine a conversation, a greeting, a moment where humanity finally takes its place among the stars. But the machine pointed out that the word itself contains an assumption, a hidden assumption, one that comes from our own human experience. We assume contact means communication between equals. We assume both sides would recognize each other as partners. We assume another intelligence would see us as something worth speaking to. But what if that assumption is simply another reflection of our own loneliness? What if the universe does not answer us the way another human being would? What if, from the perspective of a civilization unimaginably older than ours, humanity is not a partner in a conversation, but something else entirely?